Belarus, January 14th, 1944. 0512 hours. Snowfall, drifting sideways across the tree line. The forest is still dark when the engines begin coughing awake. Frost fogs every exhale, turning the tank park into a blur of white breath and low steel silhouettes. The ground crunches like broken glass under boots. Somewhere in the distance, a single artillery gun fires a lazy, echoing shot, testing the cold more than testing the enemy. The Soviet tankers of the 3rd Guards break the night silence with muttered curses as they stomp toward the row of American-built M4A2 Shermans, their olive curves half buried in snow. Most of the men walk with the same expression, a mix of curiosity, irritation, and open contempt. Look at them. American toys. Sergeant Anatoly Sidorov spits into the snow, hands buried deep in his wool coat. The spit freezes before it even hits the ground. Someone behind him grunts. Thin armor, wide hull, engine in the wrong place. They'll burn. A few men chuckle. It's the same thing they've been saying for weeks. But the cold open comes not from the tank crews. It comes from the machines themselves. Because before the jokes finish echoing, one of the Shermans responds with a clean, smooth whir of twin diesel engines turning over on the first try. No coaxing, no prayer, no mechanic with a blowtorch under the transmission. Just a steady hum. Steady, warm, and reliable. You can almost feel the men pause. Their boots stop crunching. Their jokes trail off into frosty silence. In the blue-gray pre-dawn shadow, a few heads slowly turn toward the sound, as though the tank itself is smirking. Lieutenant Mikhail Antonov, commander of White 23, lifts his eyebrows. He's young, but the front has already carved permanent fatigue around his eyes. First try, again. His driver, Kolya, rubs his hands over his face, trying to push warmth into his cheeks. Of course it starts, he mutters. It's not Soviet. A few men laugh at that, though it's the tired kind of laugh that relies on pain more than humor. The T-34s nearby still sit silent, their crews frantically priming fuel pumps, burning rags under oil pans, beating on frozen starter handles like they're punishing the machines for the weather. The Shermans don't need any of that. Steam drifts lazily from exhausts like the tanks are waking up from a comfortable sleep. Their radios crackle faintly inside. Clean, low static, not the harsh scratchiness the men are used to. For now, though, the mockery continues, because habit is louder than truth. Armor like tin, one tanker mutters. A German shell will pass through it and out the back, another says. But Lieutenant Antonov steps closer to his Sherman, running a gloved hand along the side armor. The metal is cold enough to sting even through wool. He feels the curve, the shape, the foreign weld seams. Thin, yes, he thinks, but warm, alive. Would never say that aloud. Not yet. A gust of winter wind sweeps across the tank park, whipping snow sideways, stinging exposed skin. The kind of cold that makes your lungs feel like they're freezing from the inside. The kind that turns every mechanical weakness into a death sentence. Kolya climbs onto the hull, boots slipping slightly on the frosted metal. You hear the T-34, boys? He calls down. They say this American radio can talk to Mars. Mikhail smirks. Maybe it can talk to Regiment HQ. That alone would be a miracle. Another soft laugh. Another small human moment in a war defined by cold, and mud. The company commander, Captain Voronov, marches through the snow, his breath shooting out in white bursts, his coat flapping like a banner in the wind. He stops in front of the Shermans and folds his arms. "We move in 20 minutes. Check radios, warm engines, confirm ammunition." His voice is clipped, efficient. A man who stopped believing in unnecessary words around the time half his battalion froze outside Stalingrad. Mikhail nods. Understood. He ducks into the turret of White 23. The metal groans softly as it warms. Inside, it smells like diesel, canvas, oil, and the faint sweetness of American grease, a strange contrast to the acrid fumes of Soviet tanks. You can almost feel the tightness of the space, the cold metal at your elbow, the soft hum of the radio set behind your head. Static crackles, then a clear voice, startlingly clear. "White 23, White 23, report readiness." Mikhail blinks. The sound quality is unlike anything he's heard on the Eastern Front. No deep buzzing, no clipping, no fading. He presses the transmit key, unsure if he's doing something wrong. "White 23, warming engines now. Ready in 5. His gunner, Yuri, chuckles as he checks the breech, wiping frost from the handle. "That radio sounds better than my mother," he mutters. "Your mother yells louder," Kolya fires back. The men laugh again, tired, cold, but alive, as the tank vibrates beneath them with a steady rhythm. Outside, snowflakes land on the Sherman's hull and melt instead of sticking. The engine heat already spreading through the steel. Another T-34 nearby coughs, sputters, and dies again. A mechanic swears so loudly the entire park hears him. And in that moment, a small, almost imperceptible shift happens in the minds of the men around the American-built machines. A quiet, flickering thought that none of them want to admit. Maybe these things aren't as soft as they look. A distant rumble rolls across the trees. Not thunder, tracks, German ones. Voronov shouts, "Mount up!" Mikhail slams the hatch shut as the first echoing clatter of enemy armor filters through the forest. Whatever mockery filled the dawn, whatever jokes the men were clinging to, they're about to be tested by the cold, by the forest, and by a mechanized threat already moving toward them. The Shermans hum, warm and ready. The T-34s still fight the cold, and the German tracks keep getting louder. Belarus, January 14th, 1944. 0541 hours. Snowfall thickening, visibility dropping to 50 meters. The forest transforms into a moving blur of white and shadow as Lieutenant Mikhail Antonov pulls himself deeper into the turret of White 23. The Sherman vibrates with confidence, a warm, steady hum that feels almost alive beneath him. Outside, the world is freezing, but inside, the American diesel keeps the edges of the metal just warm enough not to bite bare skin. But the cold still sneaks in everywhere else. Kolya's breath fogs the driver's hood. Yuri's fingers stiffen slightly as he tightens the elevation gear. The loader, Stepan, rubs his palms together against the cold ammo casing. The enemy is close now. You can feel it before you hear it. Muffled shapes shift in the trees. Branches crack, not from snow, but from weight. The unmistakable metallic grunt of German engines creeps along the forest floor like a growl. Mikhail flips the radio toggle. A clean voice cuts through the static. "All Shermans, form line abreast. T-34s hold to rear until engines stable. Enemy armor advancing from the north. Yuri looks up sharply. That clarity. I can't believe it. Kolya mutters. I can barely hear you when you're sitting next to me, Lieutenant. But HQ sounds like they're in the turret. And that, right there, is the moment the reversal begins. Because while the Soviets mocked the thick-curved Americans for being soft, foreign, overcomplicated, there is one thing they cannot mock. The radio works. Perfectly. Immediately. Every time. Outside, the wind howls through bare branches, carrying flakes like needles. The forest blinks between gusts. Visible. Invisible. Visible again. In that shifting white curtain, the shadows of German armor begin to appear. A Panzer IV. Then another. Then a StuG, creeping low to the frost-covered ground. The Soviet infantry along the tree line flattened themselves into foxholes, rifles buried under layers of snow and wool, their breath fogs in terrified bursts. Mikhail's voice is steady when he presses the transmit key. White 23, contact front. Armor identified. Panzer IVs, possible StuG. Range under 300. The response comes instantly. Copy, White 23. Shermans, engage and hold left flank. Artillery adjusting. The clarity, the speed. It cuts through the battlefield chaos like a clean blade. Yuri whispers, orders. Real orders. In real time. It shouldn't be surprising, but on the Eastern Front, where frozen Soviet radios often turned into mute blocks of metal, hearing a crisp command at the exact moment you need it feels like a miracle. Mikhail steadies his breathing. Driver, forward. Gunner, load armor piercing. Stepan slams the shell in with a metallic clack that echoes harshly in the turret. White 23 lurches forward, tracks biting into the snow. The suspension rocks as they roll over frozen roots. Frost shakes loose from the hull in a shimmering cloud. Outside, the first German round whistles through the trees. Crack. A shell slams into a pine trunk just meters away, sending wood shards across the snow. The explosion shakes loose branches and dumps half-frozen snow over the Sherman's hull in a thick cascade. Stepan flinches. They're close! Mikhail doesn't answer. He sees something the others don't. The German armor is trying to angle right, attempting to flank what they assume is a Soviet formation without radios, without coordination, without real-time communication. They're expecting chaos. They're expecting delay. They're expecting the usual. But today, the Soviets have something else. White 17, enemy moving right. Mikhail relays calmly. Cut them off. He waits, only a second, maybe two, before White 17 replies. Understood. Moving. Instant communication. Instant action. Instant cohesion. Kolya actually laughs once under his breath, the breathless, disbelieving kind. Look at that. We're coordinated. Yuri tightens his grip on the handwheel. Target. Panzer IV. 2 o'clock. Snow swirls in the gust, briefly revealing the German tank. The commander stands half out of the cupola, goggles frosted, arm raised to signal his platoon. He's shouting something. A warning. A correction. A command. He expects a few seconds buffer, enough time to speak before the Soviets figure out what's happening. He doesn't get those seconds. Fire! Yuri squeezes the trigger. The Sherman roars, a deep, violent boom that reverberates through steel and bone. The shell streaks into the haze and punches through the Panzer's side plate. The tank erupts in sparks and smoke. The German commander falls backward into the turret as flames lick out from under the armor skirts. Stepan exhales slowly, chest heaving. "Load! Load!" Yuri shouts. Kolya pushes the Sherman into a slight right angle, using the hull's curve to deflect a glancing hit. The enemy shell scrapes across the armor with a shrieking metallic scream. Another order crackles into the radio. "WWII, shift fire left! StuG advancing!" Again, instant clarity, instant understanding. Yuri swings the turret. Stepan slams another shell home. Kolya angles the hull to keep their silhouette narrow. The StuG fires first. Its round blasts through frozen branches, showering the Sherman with splinters and needles. The tank rocks from the impact of debris, but not from the hit. Then, before the German gunner can reload, Yuri fires. The shell catches the StuG. Just behind the gun mantlet, smoke belches upward. Inside the turret, the men breathe hard, not just from fear, but from disbelief. Not at the kill, not at the accuracy, not at their survival. They can't believe how easily they coordinated, how fast they reacted, how alive the battlefield feels when you can actually hear each other. The T-34 crews behind them stare with something like confusion, and maybe awe, because the Shermans aren't fighting harder, they're fighting smarter. Outside, more German tanks appear, silhouettes in the storm, engines snarling, barrels moving like creatures sniffing prey. The next minutes will decide everything, and the radios are just beginning to show their true value. Belarus, January 14th, 1944. 6:07 hours. Snowfall now a white curtain, visibility under 20 meters. WWII pushes deeper into the woods, its tracks grinding over frozen earth, brittle roots snapping under the weight. The Sherman's hull shakes with each bump, but the engine hum remains constant, steady, warm, unbothered by the cold that claws at everything else. Inside the turret, every breath feels heavy. Yuri's hands tremble just enough to reveal how close they came to being struck moments ago. Stepan loads shells with quick mechanical precision, but sweat, cold and sharp, beads on his forehead despite the winter air seeping into the turret seams. And still, the radio crackles with perfect clarity. WWII, White 17, enemy falling back left. Possible ambush. Proceed with caution. The voice sounds close enough to be in the same vehicle. It shouldn't. Not in this weather. Not in this terrain. Kolya glances upward from the driver's hood. Lieutenant, are we sure this isn't some trick? No Soviet radio works like this. Mikhail presses his lips together, trying to focus. Trick or not, it's saving our lives. Outside, the forest begins to shift from still to sinister. Black trunks crowd together like vertical shadows, branches sagging with heavy snow. The storm muffles sound, except for the low metallic rumble of engines cutting through the wind. German engines. Yuri stiffens. Movement ahead. Mikhail peers through the periscope, squinting against the swirling flakes. A shape. No, two. Low silhouettes hugging the ground. StuGs. Maybe a whole platoon. They're positioned to catch the Shermans in a killing lane, a narrow corridor between a frozen creek and a low ridge, a perfect kill zone. Any Soviet tank column pushing forward blindly would be funneled straight into German guns aimed at their sides. Yuri mutters, "They knew we'd push this way." Mikhail hits the transmit key. "White 23 to all Sherman units. Enemy ambush ahead. Hold positions. Adjust right. Use ridge as cover." Instant acknowledgement ripples across the network. Instant. That single second saved is worth more than armor plating. But the German commander has no idea his ambush has been exposed early. He still believes the storm blinds both sides equally. He still believes Soviet tanks are sluggish, blind, and poorly coordinated. He believes wrong. Kolya growls, "Lieutenant, say the word. Forward. Half speed. Keep the hull low." 23 crawls toward the ridge, its engine humming unfazed by the cold. Snow falls thicker now, coating the hull, softening the edges, turning the tank into a white shadow merging with the landscape. Yuri shifts the turret slowly, deliberately, breathing steady, eyes narrowed. "Target at 11 o'clock. StuG, hull down." But something else flickers behind it. Faint movement, barely visible through the storm. Another vehicle. No muzzle flash. No movement. Just a dark shape. "Lieutenant," Yuri murmurs, "do they have a second line?" Mikhail squints. His breath fogs the glass of the periscope. He wipes it quickly with his glove. "Yes, they're hiding something." He doesn't know what. Not yet. But he knows enough to understand this. The Germans prepared for a blind enemy. They didn't prepare for one with clear communication. Mikhail presses the radio key again. "White 17, flank right and provide overwatch. White 12, hold fire until my mark." The replies return in rapid succession, short, crisp, confident. Inside the Sherman, Stepan loads another round. The clack rings through the turret, echoing off steel walls. Kolya exhales, fogging the driver's slit with a thin mist. Then, a German gun flashes through the storm. Boom! The StuG fires. The shell whistles past White 23 and slams into a birch tree, exploding bark and snow across the ridge. The tank rocks with the shockwave, metal shuddering under the concussion. Yuri winces, but doesn't look away. He's locked in now, breathing slow, focused. "Target sighted," he whispers. "Fire." The tank recoils as the round leaves the barrel. The shell arcs through the storm and slams into the StuG's mantlet. The vehicle jerks violently, smoke pouring from the hit. But the second shadow, the one behind it, remains still. No return fire, no movement, just a silent presence in the blizzard. Mikhail frowns. Something's wrong. He grips the periscope handles tighter and leans forward. "What is that?" Before he can finish, the radio erupts again. Perfectly timed, perfectly clear. "White 23, artillery inbound, 10 seconds, pull back from ridge." Artillery? Now? Mikhail doesn't question it. "Driver, reverse! Now!" Kolya slams the gear lever backward. White 23 grinds into reverse, metal shrieking as the tracks struggle against the icy slope. Snow explodes behind them as the first whistling shell arcs overhead and detonates exactly where they were moments before. The ground bucks. The ridge erupts in fire and flying earth. The StuG appears in a plume of smoke, and the second shadow, the one Mikhail couldn't identify, the explosion dislodges it. A massive tree collapses sideways, crashing into the snow. Where it stood, hidden by its trunk, lies another German vehicle, a Marder tank destroyer, already aimed at the Sherman position. If they had advanced 5 more meters, if radios had delayed by even a second, if engines had stalled for even a moment, that Marder would have fired first. Yuri stares, jaw slack. "Lieutenant, we would have been dead." Kolya's knuckles tighten on the controls. Even Stepan whispers, barely audible, "We didn't even know it was there." Mikhail forces his breath steady as snow settles across the turret roof. "They knew the terrain," he murmurs. "They prepared the ambush perfectly." He looks at the radio unit, glowing faintly, completely unbothered by the weather. But we had something they didn't plan for. Outside, the artillery barrage continues, crushing the German ambush position. Trees topple, snow erupts, steel shatters. The Shermans hold, the T-34s catch up. The Germans fall back deeper into the forest, and the mood inside White 23 shifts. Not pride, not arrogance, a quiet realization. The thin American tank just survived a trap designed to kill it instantly, and the men know exactly why. Not armor, not speed, not firepower, but reliability, communication, coordination, uptime. Things no one mocked anymore. And the battle isn't over yet. Belarus, January 14th, 1944. 06:39 hours, winds rising, storm intensifying, forest turning into a white maze. Snow sweeps sideways in thick, blinding waves as White 23 pushes forward with the other Shermans, their engines still humming steadily while the storm tries to choke every sound in the forest. The blizzard becomes a weapon, obscuring everything, muting depth, turning distance into guesswork. For most tanks, this is where engines falter. This is where transmissions freeze. This is where radios die. This is where coordination collapses. But not today. Inside White 23, the crew breathes in a tense rhythm, controlled, deliberate, focused. Stepan, the loader, wipes frost forming along the rim of the ammo rack. His gloves stick lightly to the metal. Yuri rotates the turret slowly, tracking shadows between trees. Kolya feels the engine heat radiating faintly through the driver's firewall, the only warmth in the entire forest. The Sherman isn't just warm. It's consistent, predictable, alive. Mikhail presses a hand lightly against the radio housing, feeling the faint vibration. The device hums steadily, unaffected by the cold that kills every exposed machine part outside. A voice crackles through, as crisp as ever. "White group, German armor regrouping east. Expect counterattack in minutes." Kolya shakes his head in disbelief. "How can we hear them so clearly? Even the T-34 boys can barely hear themselves think." Yuri chuckles under his breath. "If this thing could cook borscht, I swear we'd defect to Detroit." Despite the tension, Stepan snorts with a short laugh. Just a human reflex, a way to blunt the edge of fear. Outside, the trees shift again. Dark shapes. Too smooth to be trunks, too sharp to be bushes, emerge between the storm gusts. Mikhail narrows his eyes. "Contact. Tigers? No. Too small. Panzer IVs again. And something heavier behind them." He shifts in the commander's seat, breath fogging the periscope. "Kolya, halt. Gunner, traverse left. 30 degrees." White 23 grinds to a stop. Snow slides off the hull, pattering against the frozen ground. Yuri steadies his aim. The Panzer IVs advance cautiously, trying to use the storm for cover. Their commanders keep their heads low, goggles iced over, shoulders hunched against the cold. Then, between the trees, a heavier silhouette emerges. A Panther. Sleek, angled, deadly. Yuri whispers, "Lieutenant, I see it. In normal conditions, this would be suicide." The Panther outguns the Sherman, outranges it, out-armors it. But these aren't normal conditions. The German formation is blind. Their radios struggle in the cold. Their visibility is cut to 20 meters, and their engines cough as frost tries to choke them. Meanwhile, White 23 idles smoothly, a quiet defiance in the storm. Mikhail hits the transmit key. "White group, Panther sighted. Do not engage head-on. Shift right and angle armor." Instant acknowledgement follows. The Panther commander likely assumes he still has minutes before the Soviets figure out his presence. He assumes the storm isolates both sides equally. He has no idea he's been spotted 20 seconds earlier than he should have been. 20 seconds is everything. Kolya angles the Sherman. Yuri breathes slowly, lining up the shot. Stepan braces himself without being asked. The Panther fires first. Boom! The shell rips through the blizzard and punches into the snow just meters from White 23, sending a geyser of ice and dirt into the air. If the Sherman had not angled when it did, if the order hadn't come instantly through the radio, that shot would have found steel instead of snow. Mikhail doesn't flinch. Fire! The Sherman's gun recoils with a violent jolt. The AP round smashes into the Panther's lower glacis. Not a kill, but a crack. A wound. The Panther shifts, trying to adjust, trying to understand where the shot came from. But the Shermans have already repositioned. They're moving with coordinated precision, something that would never have been possible in a storm without working radios. White 17 fires next. Then White 12. 3 shells in rapid succession hammer the Panther, creating sparks through the blizzard. The German engine sputters, not from damage, from cold. A moment of weakness. Yuri takes it. He fires again. A clean shot that slams under the turret ring. The Panther jerks violently, engine screaming, then dies in a sputter of black smoke. Stepan exhales shakily, wiping his forehead with a trembling glove. Lieutenant, did we just… Yes, Mikhail says softly. We did. Kolya mutters. In a fair fight, we wouldn't stand a chance. But this storm isn't fair to anyone but us. Because the Shermans don't lose power. They don't lose radio. They don't lose coordination. But the Germans do. And the T-34s, still fighting the cold behind them, simply can't keep pace. Yuri sights another movement. Panzer IV, closing fast. But before he can fire, the radio crackles. White 23, shift back. Infantry moving up. Do not block firing line. In any other tank, the message would arrive too late. Or not at all. But here, in the American steel hull, Mikhail reacts the instant he hears it. Kolya, reverse 20 meters. White 23 backs up quickly, just in time for a Soviet AT rifle team to dart into the clearing ahead. They drop to the snow, shoulders rising and falling in sharp breaths. A single shot from their PTRD rings out. The Panzer IV jerks, veers sideways, and slams turret first into a pine tree. Silence follows for 3 long, heavy seconds. Then Mikhail realizes something. They're not winning because of bravery, not because of superior guns, not because of superior armor. They're winning because their tanks work. Engines that start, radios that speak, machines that don't freeze, coordination the enemy never expected. This isn't a story about the strongest tank. It's a story about the tank that can fight when everything else stops. But the Germans aren't finished. A final distant rumble echoes in the eastern tree line. Deeper, heavier, unmistakable. Yuri swallows. "Lieutenant, that sounds like another Panther." Mikhail grips the hatch rim tightly, frost biting his glove. "No," he murmurs. "Not one." The rumble multiplies. 2 engines. 3, maybe more. Kolya's breath turns slow, heavy. "A whole company?" Mikhail doesn't answer. He listens. He feels the vibration through the snow. He smells the diesel and smoke drifting through the storm. The next wave is coming. Stronger than the last, better positioned, less deceived. And White 23 is about to face them, with only one advantage left. Reliability. Belarus, January 14th, 1944. 7:03 hours. Storm at full strength. Visibility 10 meters. Battlefield dissolving into white noise. White 23 crouches behind a low rise of snow-covered earth. The engine hums steadily beneath the crew, its warmth the only shield against the bone-deep cold, gnawing its way through wool and skin. Every breath inside the turret fogs the dim air. Every exhale carries the tremor of exhaustion. But none of the men speak of stopping. Not yet. Not with the storm hiding a new threat. The forest vibrates with the deep guttural growl of approaching engines, heavier than Panzer IVs, deeper than StuGs. The sound rolls like distant thunder, echoing off the frozen tree trunks. Yuri's eyes tighten. Panthers. More than one. Kolya mutters, "They won't let this break through. Go." Stepan runs a gloved thumb over the next round, checking for frost. His breath shakes, but his motions stay disciplined. Mikhail listens, not just with his ears, but with his whole chest. The approaching rumble is steady, synchronized. This isn't a scattering of survivors. This is a counterattack. Planned, coordinated, angry. The radio crackles again, steady as ever. White group, regroup at grid 3-4. Infantry repositioning. Enemy armor approaching from east-southeast. Clear, immediate, life-saving. Mikhail presses the transmit key. White 23, moving. Kolya shifts into gear. White 23 lurches through the snow, its tracks grinding frost into powder. The blizzard washes over them like a curtain, thick enough that the world shrinks to the tank's immediate surroundings. Everything else becomes sound and instinct. Yuri glances sideways. "Lieutenant, the T-34s still haven't caught up." Mikhail nods quietly. They're fighting their engines as much as the enemy. The truth hurts, but it's undeniable. The Shermans are moving. The T-34s are freezing. And the Germans are coming. White 23 reaches the ridgeline, a low, icy rise angled just enough to serve as cover. The tank halts. Snow settles on the hull in a soft hiss. Then, a shadow moves through the white, a massive one. Yuri whispers, "Contact. Panther. 2 o'clock." 10 meters of visibility. No room for error. No second chances. Mikhail leans into the periscope. His glove sticks slightly to the frozen rim. Another shape appears, then another. 3 Panthers. A platoon. Kolya mutters, "If they get around us, it's over." "They won't," Mikhail replies, though the confidence in his voice is thin. The Panthers spread out, trying to find the Soviet armor blind in the storm. They don't realize the Shermans have already repositioned. They don't realize the line has shifted. They don't realize their flank is exposed. Because they can't hear each other. Their radios sputter in the cold. Their engines choke. Their coordination crumbles. One Panther commander waves his arm to signal his platoon, shouting over the wind. Yuri sees it through the storm. "Lieutenant, they're relying on hand signals." Mikhail's breath freezes along the periscope glass as he whispers, "Good." He presses the radio key. "All Shermans, fire at will." The reply comes instantly. 3 calm voices. 3 confirmations. The Panthers have nothing like this, and they don't expect what happens next. Yuri fires first. Boom! The Panther lurches as the shell rips into its side armor, sparks bursting through the snowstorm. It twists awkwardly, engine choking, trying to angle toward the shot. But before it can, White 17 fires. White 12 fires. 3 hits, one after another. Coordinated like a single heartbeat. Snow explodes around the German tanks. Steel groans. Engines scream. Inside White 23, Stepan slams another shell into the breach with the precision of habit. His gloves slip once. The casing rim nearly cuts through the wool, but he steadies himself with a quick breath. "Loaded!" Yuri's breathing stays locked in rhythm. In, aim, out, adjust. "Second Panther, 12 o'clock. Fire!" The Sherman rocks with the recoil. The second Panther jerks. Smoke pours from beneath its turret. The third Panther tries to pull back, but the storm blinds it. It reverses too far, tracks slipping on ice, commander shouting over the gale. Their formation collapses. Coordination breaks. Their advantage, armor, firepower, range, means nothing here. Mikhail knows it. He feels it. He presses the radio key again, his voice steady. "Push forward. Don't let them regain formation." Kolya growls under his breath and throttles forward. White 23 charges through the curtain of snow, tracks tearing through the ice-crusted ground. Yuri takes aim again. Stepan braces. The Panther tries to rotate its turret, its movement slow, sluggish, fighting frost. "Fire!" The shot hits home. The Panther jolts, engine shrieking, then falling silent under the roar of fire and steel collapsing inward. For several seconds, the forest goes quiet, except for wind and the distant popping of cooling metal. Then a single voice crackles through the radio. "White group, enemy retreat in east. We held the line." Yuri slumps against the turret ring, breath fogging the air. Kolya lets out a shaky laugh, the kind born purely from surviving the unsurvivable. Stepan wipes sweat from his brow, even though the turret is freezing. Mikhail stays silent for a long moment. He feels the vibration of the humming engine beneath him, feels the steady beat of the radio, the warmth, the reliability. It hits him then, deeper than pride. Something close to gratitude. Not for the armor, not for the gun, not even for the survival, but for the simple truth. When everything froze, the radios worked, the engines worked, The tank worked. And because of that, his men worked. White 23 idles in the storm, the American steel hull coated in a thick layer of snow, steaming softly like a beast catching its breath. Behind them, the T-34s finally arrive, engines coughing, tracks stiff with frost, crews shivering as they roll up too late to join the fight. They see the burning Panthers. They see the disabled StuGs. They see the path the Shermans carved. And the mockery does. No jokes, no doubts, no laughter. Just quiet realization. Sometimes, the strongest armor is the machine that doesn't stop. And for this battle, in this storm, at this moment, the thin-skinned Sherman was invincible.